call the member for Ryan.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Since her appointment as Foreign Minister, the Honourable Julie Bishop has insisted that addressing gender inequality, particularly in our neighbouring region, has been a priority for our government. The members of the Human Rights Subcommittee of the Joint Standing Committee on Foreign Affairs, Defence and Trade welcomed the opportunity to advance the agenda with an inquiry into empowering women and girls, the human rights issues confronting women and girls in the Indian Ocean, Asia-Pacific region. Now, when you start to look at the nations this region includes, there is a great difference in size and character, but they all have their own challenges. To take just one example, we need to look no further than our nearest neighbour and friend, Papua New Guinea. Madam Deputy Speaker, just look at some of the stark facts. 5 women die every day in childbirth, the highest maternal mortality rate in the world. More than 90% of women and girls have been victims of domestic violence. In Australia, we have 1 doctor for every 302 residents. In PNG, there is 1 doctor for every 17,068 people. And in a country challenged by geography, challenged by more than 700 villages, 85% of the population lives outside Port Moresby, and challenged by more than 800 different languages, there are just 51 doctors outside the capital city. 5.5% of babies die before they are 2 years old. And in Australia, where we spend $6,600 per capita on health every year, and there's always a call for a bigger spend, in Papua New Guinea it is just $67. So where to start for this inquiry? There are so many challenges, but equally there is a plethora of faith-based, service, government and non-government organisations providing aid and support programs into these countries. Indeed, one of my ongoing frustrations is the lack of coordination between these many groups. While I appreciate the need for statistics and factual data, it is disappointing that many organisations operate in silos. We need better coordination and better cooperation, and we need to share the information. We heard that some groups simply monitor other groups and then express strong views on how programs should be delivered, having never actually operated under the difficult conditions in these countries. To me, there seems to be fewer organisations actually delivering programs on the ground. So Recommendation 32 attempts to resolve some of this by calling for improved data collection and reporting. Madam Deputy Speaker, another frustration of mine is the amount of duplication and programs operating in parallel without collaboration or coordination. One of the successful organisations in the Pacific is the Fiji Women's Crisis Centre, which also provides support to neighbouring countries. They have established a variety of programs addressing key issues, which can be adapted to other countries and social situations. They run courses for men in the community, including local football teams, and have established a male champion program. Rather than reinvent the wheel, the Fiji Women's Crisis Centre is well positioned to deliver these programs into other parts of the region, as identified in Recommendation 23. And Madam Deputy Speaker, many of these recommendations, and as you can see from the size of this report, it's no easy one solution for these many challenges, but many of the recommendations make good common sense. Recommendation 18, the committee recommends the Australian government agencies working in the Indo-Pacific region take advantage of opportunities to partner with faith-based networks where they play a major role in delivery of healthcare services and care support, because many of our faith-based organisations have been in these regions for decades and they know the local people. They often speak the local dialect and the local people have learnt to trust them. So surely we're better delivering programs through these existing networks, through these existing organisations, than establishing a separate operation to do it in parallel at greater expense. We could get more value for our aid dollar by delivering through these faith-based organisations. And other practical solutions, recommendation number 5, where the committee recommended that the Australian Government expand its support efforts for increasing the number of women recruits into police forces in the Pacific Island countries, including Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, and to help increase and retain the number of female recruits to the Afghan police force, law enforcement roles and public services, while supporting efforts to provide sufficient protection for these recruits. Once again, a practical solution supporting women in leadership roles who can be mentors to other women in the community and protect their rights. The next section, with violence against women and girls, recommends that the Australian Government engage with governments in the Indo-Pacific region to highlight the extent of violence against women and girls and the persistence of the problem. So I was delighted to be a member of an all-party delegation with then Minister Shobo at the end of last year, where we went to Fiji, we went to Vanuatu, we went to Tonga, and we went to Samoa, and we looked at the problems in those places, and the Solomon Islands, and we looked at the problems there during those 16 days of activism. And Minister Shobo led the way in highlighting the Australian Government's desire to address these issues in those countries. And we had some very interesting meetings with governments in those places. Madam Deputy Speaker, as the Minister for Foreign Affairs has observed, when women are able to actively participate in the economy and in community decision-making, everybody benefits. Section 7 of the report refers to women in leadership. The Pacific Women's Parliamentary Partnership is a great initiative, but we still have a long way to go. Disappointingly, no women were elected at the recent election in Vanuatu, and despite that there were so many good candidates. So very disappointing outcome. I understand that not everyone supports a quota system for women to be elected to Parliament, but there are other ways of achieving it. I congratulate the President of Samoa, who in the upcoming election has decreed that 10% of the seats there will be a woman elected, but not at the expense of the man. So if the woman doesn't get as high a vote as the male candidate, the 10 women who get the highest vote will be deemed elected, but the male candidate will also be a member. So the voters in that electorate or constituency will have 2 members for that term. So he's increasing the size of Parliament to make sure that there are women represented in the Parliament, which is a novel way. In Papua New Guinea, where we were very disappointed when Dame Carol Kiru resigned and there was no quota system in place, we were concerned. But it was great. We had 3 women elected, 3 strong women, and I pay particular tribute to Julie Soso Kiki, the first ever female governor to be elected, the governor of Goroka in the Highlands, a very difficult part of Papua New Guinea, and Julie is doing an amazing job. Madam Deputy Speaker, significant improvements have been achieved through our aid program in 2014-15. A new Gender Equality Fund and a revised strategic direction will increase progress towards meeting our gender equality target and empowering women and girls. This fund supports commitments to advance international efforts on critical gender equality issues, including ending violence against women and girls and promoting women's leadership. The government has set a target requiring that at least 80% of investments, regardless of their objectives, will effectively address gender issues in their implementation. However, there is no doubt that additional funding in this area would be of incredible benefit and is sorely needed. Indeed, to achieve many of our recommendations will require more budget allocation. Madam Deputy Speaker, I trust that this report will also value add to that agenda and make a positive contribution. I thank the member for Barawa for his, as always, professional chairmanship and indeed his untiring commitment to human rights all around the world during his time in this place. His new role is most fitting. I also thank my fellow committee members for their valuable contribution. It is particularly worth noting that these recommendations have bipartisan support, as we all share a genuine desire to remedy the plight of so many women and children in our region. And my appreciation to the Inquiry Secretariat, Sonia Fladden and her team, who worked tirelessly to source appropriate witnesses and managed to pull together some very disparate evidence and submissions. I commend the report to the House.
I thank